You talk about, he definitely needed it, but I've got to say, a warm welcome, first time guest to the channel, but no stranger to boxing, I always say that. Adam Morallee, welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
All the better for seeing you. Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora. We saw the years of the build-up. I remember when David Hay was with him, ringside, let's have it. You know, Chihuahua, all the talk.
Yeah.
And now we are finally here. Well, we'll get to your saga with him in a bit. It's been a bit of a week for boxing sagas, hasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, look, it's brilliant that we're here. It was a fight I was never sure was ever going to happen, to be honest. Certainly because of what happened in 2018, I didn't know if it was going to happen. But I'm delighted it is happening. I think it's a brilliant style matchup. And I think we're going to see a great fight on Saturday night.
When we talk about Joyce's preparation, how's he been getting on? How's he been preparing for it? We know what Derek brings.
Yeah.
But we also know what Joe Joyce brings. So how's the prep been going?
Look, I think you look at Joe in September 2022, Joe Joyce just beats Parker, universally acknowledged as a top 3 heavyweight in the world, probably just after Fury and Usyk. AJ wasn't having the best of times. I think he just got beat by Usyk at that point. And his number one asset characteristic was his engine, which he's never lost. He's never ever lost. He had the 2 defeats to Zhang. He was coming on strong in that first fight and he got stopped on the eye. Second fight, fair enough, he got knocked out. But Joe Joyce, and this is what I think people kind of sleep on and forget a bit. Joe Joyce's numbers from, say, round 5 or 6 in a heavyweight fight onwards are unrivaled, unmatched. No one can live with him. He's landing more punches in the 6th round than he did in the 3rd round. His numbers go up and his fitness has improved from September 2022. So I think people are reading into, it's like when you read any kind of graph or something, people think Joe Joyce is on the decline and he's getting worse and worse, and the Cash Alley performance wasn't great, and that's indicative of a greater decline. I don't see that. I think you're going to see underlying improvements in lots of things, including Joe's fitness, and I think we're in for a great performance.
Well, when you look at Joel's career, and then we talk about decline, I just feel like he hasn't even fulfilled his potential yet.
I agree.
I think that he's had a bit of a haphazard, bit of stop-start, some really good fights. And yes, we can all talk about the Zhilei Zhang fight, we can. But then he's come back and he's got through Cash Alley.
Yeah.
But with me, it just feels like he just hasn't reached that potential, almost like the medal in the Olympics.
Yeah,
he should have got it.
A little bit. I think you've got to look at who Joe's fought, look at his resume, and it's very, very impressive. You know, he was fighting ex-world champions Bermain Stiverne in his 6th fight, beat Lemroy Thomas in his 4th fight, his debut against Ian Lewison, who just lost a British title against Dillian Whyte. He then goes...
He retired him?
He's retired quite a few of his opponents. He's got that ability with what he does. And then I think under the Warrens, from 2019 onwards, he really started to grow, and he had that win against Ustinov. Then he beat Takam, that was a good win. Then he had a slightly easier fight against Christian Hammer, I think. And then before that, he'd beaten Dillian Whyte. Oh my God, I've just completely forgotten.
We've got Takam, we've got...
Daniel Dubois. Beat Daniel Dubois.
Yeah.
And then he beat Joseph Parker. And he was right on the right path. He had the WBO interim, moving on in his life. Then he suffered the losses, but he's coming right back with the Chisora win, and then we'll push him on. So the great thing about Joe, and the great thing that's happened to Joe through his promotion from the Warrens, is he's well known. He's recognisable. He's a name, and being a name will always get you fights. So now he's a name, and he's got big fights coming.
You can say that as well with the good promotion, but it's also down to him as a fighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. When you think about somebody that's charismatic, larger than life, you're not going to be looking at a picture of Joe Joyce, but he's different, and that difference in him kind of captures a certain audience.
Absolutely.
Put it this way, you're not going to forget who he is, are you?
100%. He's a very gentle man. He doesn't believe in a lot of the things that a lot of boxers, but you need that shown to the masses, and it's been shown to the masses, and he's lovable and people love him. I do think if we can get Joe, you talk about things in sort of A, B, C, Joe was, I think, at the bottom of the A grade when he beat Parker, moving up towards those heady heights of Fury and Usyk, and then he lost. and that probably pushed him down into the B. We get Joe back into the A's. I'm not saying Chisora necessarily gets him back into the A's, but we get him back into the A's, goes on when his personality becomes known by even wider audience. I think it'll be fantastic.
So this fight with Chisora, like you said, it's not necessarily going to get him back into like the A-list. And I appreciate the way that you've described his career there, because there was a point when it was, oh, flipping heck, what's going to happen when he fights Anthony Joshua?
Yeah.
Oh, this is really starting to get risky. But it just goes to show the snakes and the ladders.
Snakes and ladders.
It's like you're up there 1 minute, good to go, championship level, world title honours, just in that grasp. And then you have a fight and all of a sudden it just changes and you're back to that rebuild.
Yeah, but I mean, he lost Zhang to September last year. He wins this fight. He could be back in a massive fight in, say, October.
Who would you like for him? I mean,
I love the Parker rematch.
Okay.
I absolutely love the Parker rematch.
Would Parker take that? Because it seems as if he's just sitting down a little bit bored at the moment.
For obvious reasons, Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois do not want to fight Joe Joyce again. He has beaten them. It's not like Joe's chasing the rematch because he lost. He's beaten them both. Styles make fights. He can beat them both. I like the fights and now look at the star of Parker and Dubois. So I love those two fights. I think the British scene is very interesting in terms of we are at a bit of a changing of the guard, but you go AJ, Fury, Dubois, that's your top three. Then I'd say Joe Joyce is fourth. There's big fights for Joe there, but I'd love to get Joe to Saudi. That's what I want to do.
What about Dillian White? Is that a name that's...
We wanted that fight. We spoke to Dillian's people. I don't know. There's a legal situation going on. I don't understand it, but he's not available to fight Joe Joyce at the moment.
Fair enough, because that would be another good fight as well.
Brilliant fight.
Good domestic.
It would be a great next fight, actually, but can't be made.
You can only deal with what's in front of you. So, Saturday, we're going to be positive, and we're going to say that he's going to come through this. There's fighters that you'd like him to go through, Parker being one of them. Are you also going to be keeping a close eye on, obviously, the winner of AJ Dubois?
Absolutely. I mean, someone asked me that earlier. The winner of AJ Dubois... but the winner of AJ Dubois isn't going to want to fight Joe Joyce. They're going to want to fight Usyk or Tyson Fury, right?
Yeah.
I think...
What about the loser then?
The loser is a very obvious fight to make. Not that I'm here saying, I want to pick losers, but that's a very obvious fight to make. I'd love to fight the winner. I'd love Joe to fight the winner, but we've got to be realistic.
So being realistic, we're going to go back to... in fact, before we do that, what happens with... we talk about people saying things and then you like stuck it on Chisora, didn't you? Because obviously you mentioned about the team, obviously derogatory.
Yeah, but it wasn't anything to do... It actually wasn't anything to do with that. We were just going up the O2 and all these cameramen, everyone had prepared, spent their time going up there, the whole thing. He went up. Sorry, he didn't go up. The camera team went up. And then he bottled it for whatever reason, scared of heights, scared of whatever. Comes back down, fine, no worries. But then he started abusing like the cameramen up there, shouting at them, saying, get the F down here, you're wasting my effing time. I thought, he's so out of order. So I was just sat there thinking, what an out of order person. And then out of nowhere, Umar turns up with him and he sticks it on me like that. He puts a mic in my face. All right, pussy boy, how you doing? And I thought, that's what people haven't seen before. I was just like annoyed. So it wasn't staged. It was how I really felt. I was just annoyed with him.
Fair enough. I get it. Fair enough. I guess people will do whatever it takes to sell the fight, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of eyes on this one anyway. But let's go back to the weekend. Obviously, Solomon Dacres fought Michael Webster in the rematch. Even though he's got the stoppage, listening to the commentary was a bit swaying towards Webster. I don't know if you've watched the fight.
I did. First
What did
4
you think
rounds.
of that?
Look, Sol is a slow starter. I will say that. Sol's a slow starter. But when Sol got going, I thought he's fantastic. I thought he's absolutely fantastic. And I think people have their own impressions, don't they? So those commentators thought beforehand, Sol's just going to be the same as he was against Webster. The first 3 rounds, maybe he was similar to the previous fight. So they were already in that mind zone of effectively just saying, he's not very exciting. But then bang, Sol kicks into gear. What can they say? So they finish off saying, he looks fantastic. So I think they were a bit negative, but hey, that happens. I think huge confidence boost for Sol. I rate Michael Webster. I actually rate him. Thought he's causing Sol a lot of problems with his double jab. I really like Michael Webster. Yeah, I liked him a lot. I thought it was a great performance. I think Michael Webster beats a lot of English heavyweights. I think he should. I think he should fight Adelaide actually.
What about you fighting? Well, not you, sorry. What about Solomon fighting Adelaide? Because that is the fight we were, and everyone can say what they want, but I was really looking forward to that fight.
Yeah, same.
I said it was the boxer v the puncher.
Same.
I was, and then obviously it didn't happen. But what's going to happen next? Because he's got the English. I know he's keen for the British.
Yeah.
But look, and please feel free to throw whatever you want back at me. We're in a right. Boxing is now the glamour division. It's more glamorous. It's more celebrity-like.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I sat down with Solomon in his gym a few weeks ago, I said, look, it's going to get to the point now where it's almost going to be like, who do they think is worthy to go for the British? You've got the likes of Moses Atuma. He's lurking. He's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the potential rematch with Fabio and Fraser. As a fighter, you have
Johnny
to be
Fisher.
Johnny Fisher. You're one of your guys too. You've got to be, I mentioned him, you've got to be outstanding. And sometimes I think that Solomon doesn't get that, appeal to the public.
Yeah, look, I understand that. I think so is
And
a...
I'm not being
No, he's an
disrespectful at
understated...
all.
Look, Solomon is an understated guy, and he lets his boxing do the talking. And you're right, sometimes you do want boxers to be loud, but I also want them to be themselves. The thing with...
But what is himself? Because it doesn't show that either.
But what I'd say about Sol is, he is the English champion. He won it against Ishmael, defended it against Webster. So if he does fight Adelaide, he'll have defended it 3 times. Not that you want to keep that belt, but that gets you a British title shot. That gets you a British title shot. I think Wardley Clark will happen probably in the 4th quarter of this year. And so Solomon won't be able to fight for that British title until the 1st quarter of next year. So Sol needs another fight this year. Adelaide would be a great fight, but is he going to pull out again? Should there be penalties? We don't know. I would like Sol to fight again this year.
So hopefully that does happen, and then he can be in contention, because then we've got to move on to Johnny Fisher. Johnny Fisher that put on an exceptional performance against, Alan the Savage Babbage. Look, when you look at him as a fighter, he was never... I always said he's more of a brawler rather than a boxer. But what we've seen with Johnny Fisher is we've seen constant improvements with him under the tutelage of Mark Tibbs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Mark Tibbs. He is also going to be getting into the position. I know he's going into a good fight, and I don't want to hear anybody slate his opponent, because he fought Jared Anderson. Yeah. So I don't want to hear anything about that. Yeah. So we look at the progression of Johnny Fisher, because surely he's going to be a contender too.
Absolutely. Look, we've match made Johnny very carefully. I think it's a good opponent for him next. And I think Johnny's just that step behind Solomon. He's like a couple fights behind him. I think Solomon should win the English, move on to the British, and Johnny should come for the English. That's what I think should happen. So one should fight the other. And someone asked me the other day, would you ever have Solomon against Johnny Fisher? And the answer is I'd never want to stand in the way of my boxers earning a living and making money. But right now, it's not the right fight for either of them. Solomon is a very, very hard night's work for Johnny Fisher. And Johnny Fisher's a very, very hard night's work for Solomon Dacres.
Oh, wow. And when you see their two styles, how would you describe that then? Because you've just said both of them are hard work for each other.
I think, look, Solomon's got the GB pedigree. He's got the GB pedigree, incredible boxer, one of the most talented boxers in the heavyweight division. Hasn't showed his potential yet. Showed it in bursts on Saturday night. But it's going to grow and grow and grow and get better when he faces better opponents. He's got that class, inner class. Johnny Fisher doesn't have Solomon's background, but is learning on the job so quickly. He is learning on the job so quickly. And right now, if they fought, it's going to be Johnny's punch power against Solomon's ring IQ. I think as time goes on, Solomon's ring IQ is going to get supplemented by probably more power, and Johnny's power is going to get supplemented by more IQ. So it's a really interesting fight to be made in the future. I think right now they are not a great style for each other. But yeah, I'd love that fight for a world title,
So further on down the line. What is it like when you've got two fighters, and bearing in mind that they're still with yourselves? What's that going to be like when you've got two fighters and you're managing both of them and they're like at that level going up against
it'd be horrendous. It'd be absolutely horrendous.
You can't split into two, can you?
I can't split into two. We obviously have other staff members.
I know, but then will you feel... Is it going to be a bit awkward?
Yeah, I agree. It would be incredibly awkward. Yeah, I have to sit down with both of them. I like to be with the boxers, fight week, each of them. You have to divide your time there. And I don't know who I probably wouldn't walk out with either of them. One's a winner, one's a loser. A horrible situation to contemplate, but ultimately, that's just a casualty of war, isn't it? Like,
Casualty of war.
It's about the boxers earning money and winning.
I get that. We've got to quickly go over your stable then, the guys that you've got. I know you've got lovely Janae Boston. He was down in Birmingham the other day. He's fighting really weird. He's got obviously a fight coming up next with... Is he in the same gym or is he just he's managed by Sonny? It's a bit...
Ishmael Davis is managed by Lee Eaton.
Lee Eaton.
Yeah, but Sonny's involved.
And Sonny is in the same gym
as Junaid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, look, that's been ordered. Trying to sort a deal out on that now. Purse bids, as I said the other day, it's my job as Junaid wants to fight everyone all the time at any point. And it's my job as his manager and to talk to his coach and determine the right fights for him. And if it's not the right fight, it's not the right fight. Junaid wants to fight everyone though.
And I'm looking forward to seeing that fight actually, because I think it is
a great fight.
It's a tricky fight.
It's a great fight.
I'm trying to put my finger on it. I think Ishmael's probably a bit slow to start, where Junaid probably starts quicker.
Yeah.
But we know that Ishmael's got that power.
He's 29 years old.
Yeah. Oh,
and Junaid's 22. I think so.
Wow.
Something like that. It's a fight that I'm sure Ishmael Davis would rather take now.
All right.
He's got a better chance of beating Junaid now than he does in 2-3 years' time.
And are SJAM looking at taking on any more fighters? Are you looking at developing the stable?
Yeah, we look...
Where are you looking? Because we've got the Olympics. You've got your...
Yeah, we're looking... We've had conversations with a number of people. To be honest with you, I like the stable as it is. I'm not looking to add to it. But we are in conversations. If someone really special comes along, we'd look at it. But we want to give our fighters like the right service. And, we've got 10 that we look after really, really well, I'd say. And yeah, maybe if someone leaves, like a nightclub, one in, one out.
Yeah.
But right now, I think 10's the right number.
Sounds like a car park, that does.
Yeah, sounds like... Okay.
What is it when you talk about being a manager? What is that premium service that SJAM offers its fighters? Why should fighters come with you? What do you do that's exceptional? And it has to be exceptional for the other management teams.
I'd say perhaps I phrased the question slightly differently. What do we do that's unique? I think uniquely we have fighters with every promoter. So when it comes to being a fighter and getting...
Who have you got with boxer?
Florian Marku.
How dare I? One of your big names.
We've got people with Wasserman,
yes.
Boxer, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Top Rank. We don't have one with Izzy at GBM yet. But, in the UK we do. And I think that's important for two reasons. Number one, when you're signing, you want to be able to have a manager that can go to every promoter and get you an offer. Number one. And number two, when it comes to contract renewal time, let's just say, for the sake of argument, I only had boxers with Matchroom, or I only had boxers with Frank Warren, and I'm coming to renew with Frank Warren and they offer me X. They don't credibly think I'm going to go away and get an offer from anyone else, because if I've got all my boxes with them, how can I? So
it gives you like a bargaining tool?
Well, it gives you, I would say, not an added credibility, but people just know in a negotiation that you might go somewhere else. I actually think all of the promoters have excellent qualities. There's no one who's better than the other. People are better in different ways. But there's no favourites, they all run their businesses to the best of their abilities, and I want to make sure my boxers maximise the value they derive from boxing. That's what's important to me. And the only way I can really effectively do that is if you offer me a new deal and you're offering me a tenner, I say, I think they're worth 12 quid with these people. Well, how can you prove it? Well, I can go to those people because I've got these people with those people.
So how do you determine a fighter's worth then? What is it?
It's different for everybody.
Yeah, I know it's horses for courses.
Yeah, it's different for everybody.
When you look at like talent, what determines a fighter's worth?
Well, in terms of how much fights are worth, I've been around boxing a long time. I've been involved in a lot of bigger fights. And so sometimes other managers and other people, we discuss what we think a fight's worth just market experience, I think is the right word. What determines a fighter's worth? I think a number of things. You see with someone like Johnny Fisher, incredibly valuable because he's got a big fan base. They buy tickets. He's well known. He promotes a show. He can lead a show, which means a promoter can then put other people underneath him. Then you have someone like Joe Joyce. He's a well-known name now, so he can go. That's a name via name. It's a name via name, but that sells tickets. So you look at fighters early on in their career, like how many tickets do you sell? 100, 200, 400, but they're individual tickets that fighter's selling to their friends and family, people that know them. When you get elevated to a level where you are a boxer that is recognisable, an AJ, a Dubois, a Fury, a Joyce, Chisora, they sell tickets to the general public. So that's incredibly valuable. And obviously...
How do you market that though? How do you help fighters get to that market? I'm not saying the fighters, accountability is key, but how do you help as a management team? How do you help the fighters get to that kind of marketing for them?
You've got to help them with PR, you've got to help them with socials. Some of it is inbuilt, but yeah, that's what a management team should be doing, helping their fighters with PR, socials, getting out there. Also, very important that your promoter is very close with you. That's what you want. You want to be very close to your promoter because they're going to put a ton into you. Like, Joe Joyce has been on TNT Sports. He's been doing adverts while the Champions League final was on. That's because Queensberry put him there with TNT. That doesn't come by accident. You know, Johnny Fisher's with Matchroom. Matchroom love him. They give him loads of opportunities. Your promoter's so important.
But then a lot of it relies down to yourself. Listen, I love to pick the brains on the management side. It's interesting to see what you guys do for the fighters.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like you've got a family of kids. They're all individuals, all different.
They are.
And you've got to manage them according to their skill set, their ability, and possibly nurture them.
Yeah, 100%. It's very different taking over the management of an established fighter to taking someone from the ground up. And most of our stable, not all of our stable, but most of our stable we've taken from the beginning.
Yeah, you have.
Most of them. Not Florian, not Nicola Bark, not Larone either, actually. But most of them we have.
I love to hear it. Listen, all the best.
Thank you.
On Saturday.
Nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
First time guest. Hopefully it won't be the last.
Pleasure.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.